Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today I have a couple of stories dealing with alien life, where it might be and what it might actually be like. Either way, folks, let's continue to basically learn about aliens by reading this article. Octopus-like aliens could be living in the moon of Jupiter, and read exactly, how these octopus aliens live on the moon of Jupiter, so let's continue. Today, almost everyone knows that Jupiter has a moon, which is called Europa. It is completely covered with ice, the layer of which reaches 24 kilometers. Scientists suggest that under it, liquid water may be present. If so, then the satellite becomes a potentially habitable object. Monica Grady, Chancellor at Liverpool Hope University, said it's almost a raging certainty that Europa is home to alien beings. She believes that under the ice of Europa, there may be alien life that somehow resembles octopuses. Moreover, this form of life can be much more complicated. When it comes to the prospects of life beyond Earth, it's almost a raging certainty that there's life beneath the ice of Europa, Grady said. Could be possible, folks? Maybe, as the article reiterates once more as well. But let's continue. Monica also claims that life could be hiding in deep caves on Mars, as these underground sanctuaries are sheltered from dangerous radiation. But I think we've got a better chance of having slightly higher forms of life on Europa, perhaps similar to the intelligence of an octopus. Grady also said the environmental conditions which cause the evolution of life on Earth are highly likely to be found in other star systems. Other scientists have conducted additional research on how life could have spread in space as a result of impacts from asteroids and other space objects. Some of the results were very favorable so that life could spread within the solar system. In the case of Europa, the influence of ordinary microorganisms can be quite sufficient for the development of life. It is worth noting that Grady believes that life can exist in other parts of the galaxy because humanity today has studied only a small part of it. I would say I have to agree with Grady here, folks. Her ideas are very, very intriguing, and I think she is right for the most part. But the fact that she believes that life on Europa would look like an octopus, I would say that's going out on a limb. It's possible, but, is it likely? I would say there's a chance, but that's it, folks. Because some scientists would say that life on another planet would be completely alien and different, but some scientists also say there's a chance it might resemble life here on Earth. So I said, it's a chance that it might resemble octopuses, folks. That if indeed life does exist on Europa, there's a chance. But there's also maybe a slight chance that it might resemble, literally flying pulps, or even something from a science fiction story, or even something, we have never thought of before. That's the chance here, folks. So, Grady, she might be on the right track, but then again, she might also be wrong. Either way, we're at the end. So, let's move on to the next article. Land or water? Where does technology-based intelligence thrive? The question of whether intelligent life is more likely to emerge on land or in water has intrigued scientists for a long time. A new study by Dr. Mansavi Lindgren from Florida Institute of Technology offers a novel approach to address the question using Bayesian statistics, a Bayesian analysis of technological intelligence in land and oceans. A paper by Lindgren and researchers from the University of Texas and Università di Roma was published in the March edition of the Astrophysical Journal. Humans are a classic example of the kind of technological intelligence that can profoundly sculpt the biosphere through purposeful activities and produce detectable signatures of their technology. In the paper, the authors performed a Bayesian analysis of the probability of technologically intelligent species existing in land-based habitats and ocean-based habitats. It was found that ocean-based habitats should be more likely to host technological species if all other factors are held equal, because ocean worlds are likely to be much more common. Yet we find ourselves having emerged on land instead of oceans, so there's a paradox, broadly speaking, out there, Lindgren said. That's another assumption, folks. Like with the last article with Grady, you think that basically just because Europa is an ocean world, because Europa is an ocean world, folks, even though the surface of it is frozen, like in that, article, folks, you're assuming that basically life on the planet would basically be octopuses or something we've seen on Earth. Like here, folks, intelligent life emerging on, or in the ocean, it's a possibility, but if you look at Earth and the human race, folks, we're a land-based species and we're intelligent. So as the article basically is pretty much saying here, folks, assuming anything is just a bad idea. But let's move on to the rest of the article now. The paper also explored possibilities of how the emergence of intelligent technology-based life may be disfavored in the ocean, thereby dissolving this paradox. We say that, well, perhaps it takes a really long time for life to emerge in the ocean because of various biophysical reasons, such as the sensory capacities in land versus water, Langrim said. Yeah, there's a possibility that maybe, well, intelligent life in an ocean would take far longer to develop due to the fact of various other reasons, like sensory, maybe even the ability to manipulate tools. But that, as I said, is an assumption, so you shouldn't basically assume anything with this kind of question, folks. But let's move on. As I said, let's read the rest of this article, and then I'll give you, well, more ideas about how life could emerge and if it could possibly be intelligent. But let's read on. Another possibility is due to some set of factors, e.g. energy sources. Maybe oceans are not as habitable for intelligent life as we think they ought to be. Currently, the conventional thinking is that liquid water is needed for life. Well, maybe. It is indeed imperative for life, but maybe in excess of it, i.e. only oceans hampers technological intelligence in some ways. So that was another solution to the paradox we came up with. The team was able to come to the conclusions in the paper through synthesizing two distinct avenues. First, they drew extensively on data from Earth to ascertain what intelligent life on this planet has looked like, ranging from primates to cephalopods, e.g. octopuses, and cetaceans, e.g. dolphins. Looking at the cognitive toolkit of humans, Langrim said they sought to understand in what subtle ways human abilities differ from the cognitive capacity of marine life, such as whales and dolphins. The second part of the research involved mathematics and physics, specifically Bayesian probability theory, which enables one to calculate the relevant probabilities based on some initial expectations. While the conclusions in the paper were derived on a probabilistic basis, Langrim said there is still a lot of multidisciplinary work that can be done with refining and extending the models. I think one of the nice things about this model is that some of the assumptions can be tested, Langrim said. They can be either gauged by future observational data from telescopes, or some of them can be tested by conducting experiments and field studies on Earth, such as looking further at ethology, animal behavior, delving further into how cognition operates on land-based animals versus aquatic animals. I think there's a lot of different animals that could be further assessed to refine the study. All these questions can and hopefully should attract people from a very wide range of fields. For Langrim, future work pertaining to this study will include grappling with the metabolic role of oxygen in shaping the evolution of complex life and how ubiquitous the element may be on various planets. He will also aim to understand what role the levels of oxygen concentration could have on the evolution of intelligent life. And there we have it, folks. This guy basically is making a few assumptions, but he's only basically using what we know currently on Earth, how life developed and how maybe arguably it could develop on another planet, how relevant and how prevalent oxygen and maybe water is on various planets, and in what degree, right, folks? I mean, do these plants have vegetation? Is it possible that maybe plants could develop into intelligent life forms? Maybe it's possible that we could have maybe literally some aquatic or semi-aquatic and amphibious life forms develop on other planets, folks. Is that a possibility? Would they look like us? Would they look like dolphins? Maybe they'd be more lizard-like or cat-like. These are the kind of questions we'd ask of various life forms that could develop. And then there's the question, could these life forms develop intelligence? All these things we have to wonder about as we delve, into the future and basically try to search for alien life out there. That's a good thing to basically wonder about, folks. But yeah, my problem with both articles is that these people, both Grady and Langrim, they make assumptions that life could basically look like it does here on Earth, at least to some degree. But I can understand why, folks. We only know that life exists on Earth, so the best way to basically gauge how life might look on another planet is basically say, well, we have these life forms here, so maybe on another planet they could develop there as well, or at least something similar. So it's perhaps true. Either way, folks, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.